Well, why are not connecting? It's not that we're not marketing to Hispanics correctly, but there is still these misconceptions. And we're gonna talk briefly about all of them. And we're gonna see some examples. Like the first thing they think when they, okay, let's target the first generation Hispanic, they think language. And the first thing they do is, okay, let's put it in Spanish. But sometimes, even big brands have this problem that they just translate whatever they have in their website to Spanish. Now, for those of you, this is a big brand. If you go and are looking for terno de baño, you're never gonna try to look for nadar, right? So in these cases, and they are using that in their website, so they just did a translation, I don't know, maybe Google Translate or something, because no professional professional in advertising in Spanish is going to tell them no. Right there is going to tell them no, that's not correct. That's not how we speak. That's not how you're going to look for it. That's not how people are going to search for your product. But this is the easy case. Now then, they said, okay, let's do it in English then. In English, let's go to bilingual, but then they forget a little bit of cultural competency. It's not about the language, it's about the culture. And sometimes they come up with things like really offense, and they just, instead of connecting, they disconnect completely. I'm not talking about creative. We are not, that's not a specialty. Our specialty is optimizing the campaigns. But also, I'm talking about the money they have to spend. Once they create a campaign, once they launch the campaign, they buy a lot of media, and then everything backfires. So what they have to do, they have to apologize, they have to take down all the ads, they have to put down the websites and that. So some examples, and big brands still have something like this.
Brought together by destiny. People said it'd never work. But somehow, 1 + 1 = 3. The Texican Whopper, the taste of Texas with a little spicy Mexican. To understand it, you must try it.
Whoever, if you are Hispanic, you're gonna tell them right there, that's not good. Something is not right there. And sometimes they don't have, I don't know, they have somebody that can tell them directly, because anyone who sees that is Hispanic is gonna tell them it's not gonna work. And I'm not talking about that, not only that it's very offensive, but the problem is that they have to apologize, they have to press releases, they have to get other companies to help them with the PR. So they spend a lot of money. Why? Because there was no cultural competency from the beginning. And again, we're not talking about creative here. Now, then also there are other ones like, finally, a Colatina. Maybe the idea was because it was for the bilingual Hispanic male, that they think tell a Latina she's hot, because in English telling somebody's hot is not the same to tell a Latina is caliente. So somebody, again, they will tell them directly, no, that's not good. If you tell that to my sister, you're dead, or something like that. Yeah. So, and you're talking about big brands, and again, the money spent is like that. Then you also have other problems that, okay, let's try to be bilingual, let's try to connect with the people, and they take completely campaigns that were run in English. Have you heard of the drinkability campaign? Yeah. But then they think it's okay, let's put it in Spanish, and let's make up a word that is gonna resonate, the same thing. And they come up with la diferencia es tomabilidad. Again, it doesn't say anything, it really doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make the effect that they wanted to. But then also, one of the big problems also right now with the social media campaigns is that they did this. The problem I see with the ad is that people were talking bad things about this ad like for 1 year. They created groups, they created Facebook things, they created social media groups, websites, and the company didn't realize until it was late. If they are targeting a company, if they are targeting, a group, they will have to be monitoring every day. As you know, anything that you do is going to be online, and if you're not proactive, if you're not actively engaged on monitoring what people are talking about you or your brand, it's not going to look good. So this, again, same process, apologies, politicians come, and PR and all that. So we're talking about companies that they have money and they could have some cultural competency. So if we're trying to do anything in any industry, we need to be very, very cultural sensitive or to the people that we want to connect. So that was the common mistakes. And then people ask, okay, we tried the Hispanic market and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not a good profitable market. Of course it's not profitable, because also not only you're not connecting correctly, but you're not measuring, you're not doing what Joaquin is gonna say.
So here we're at, you launch a major campaign, you make an investment of money, and then you say, well, it's not working, I'm not getting my return on my investment, and the thing is, what are you going to do about it? So the question is, are you happy with the ROI? Now, some companies may be happy, and many other companies say, no, we're not. Today, there were some comments about, the value of Facebook advertising, and that some things really are, hyped up and so forth. But still, there's a lot of, you still are talking about a substantial number of travelers, or 60 million, Hispanics. So you don't want to just turn around and just leave. So the important thing is to control, to monitor. So here, for example, you have a case where a company made a campaign, had close to 1,300 pages on their website, they had 50,000 impressions, and they thought they were happy, but they only had 700 clicks. So obviously there was a major difference between the hype and their enthusiasm, and the people were really enticed, and then they were not really excited about going in and actually looking into the product. So this is what happens when you put a lot of effort and then you don't really look and see, now it could be that you do this once and then you do an analytical analysis, you find out that something's not working, and then you go back and you change and modify it, and that's part of this whole process. Like in this case, for example, the numbers look good, but when you look at one specific number called the bounce rate, you saw that the people obviously did not, once they went in there, they just decided to leave. So by looking at and studying the results of what you do in your campaigns or your website, then you really can modify and strategize a lot better. This is another aspect that happens a lot in marketing or when we do AdWords or whatever. Here you have, and we brought it out, the name of the company to avoid any sensitivities, but somebody paid to be able to appear up there in Google with Vuelos a Barranquilla, okay? So they were there, they paid the spot, they paid the money, they were addressing in Spanish, so you kind of tell the audience, okay, here it is, I'm going to get information about Vuelos a Barranquilla. They click in there, and what do you get? You get an English-speaking, all English-speaking website, okay? So again, why get into it if you're not going to complete the process, all right? So, and this we see continuously. And again, it's not a matter of just trying to buy the business. You have to be, consistent, and across the board, you have to target, and you have to talk to the audience in the language. So, what needs to be done? That's the question we want to, we ask, we pose to everybody. Well, you have to create culturally relevant content, as Marcelo said. You have to think digital and act social. And by actually implementing it, you will be able then to be successful.
So, create culturally relevant content. Think digital, act social, But how? How do we start? How do we get to this? And that's we're going to just show you very quickly about our process. Like before, it was really difficult to try to. It was a big matrix of how to reach Hispanics. You have acculturation level, you have language of preference, you have how many years they were here, and many other variables. And it got really, really complicated. But then you have something where they are telling you what they need, and that's the internet. How many of you put what you need on the search engines? Everyone. Anything you need, you want vuelos a Ecuador, that's my country. So you say vuelos Ecuador, and then that search is a store. Somebody else comes and said vuelos a Quito, that search is a store. Anything that we are searching is being stored somewhere. So it couldn't be better, instead of trying to break your head, like how do we reach to the market? What do they want? It's easier to go and see what they're looking for. If you know what they're looking for, if they are telling you that they want to fly to Ecuador in November, you need to create content and you're creative and everything that says that you have October specials from flying to Ecuador. It's sometimes it's really easy to get what people want and to create a content layer. That's a shift of paradigm of before, that you create something and try to push it, but now people are telling you what they are doing or what they need or what they want. So instead of creating you first, you research first, see the need, and then create the product. Not the product, but the way to connect to the consumer. Now the process that we do, where we put a lot of effort is on the planning, strategy, market research, keyword research, competitive intelligence, and digital audit. Why? Because here is the problem, here is the meat, here is it where we want to know what is it being searched when we want to promote a service. This is, once you have that, you have to choose your competitors. You have to later on see where is your best market to put your money though. Because a lot of companies, what they do is that they see a big market and they just enter the market. They don't think about the competitors. Sometimes they just go and start bidding with other companies that are bidding a lot of money, and they don't strategize. So how do you find out where the market is? Well, again, anything that you're searching is being stored, and Google provides you with that information. And before doing that, anything we want to do, we want to know if there is a market for that. So in this case, this is a very interesting case in Hispanic marketing, because if you're doing tickets, in English wouldn't be a lot of ideas. There is tickets, it's tickets, but in Spanish, depending upon where they're coming from, you're gonna find like different segments: boletos, billetes, pasajes. In my country, it's pasajes. I think it's billetes, and then you have boletos. Now, to the internet, that would be like 3 different segments. But for you, it's the same. How difficult would it be for you to create 3 different sub-segments of saying that you have boletos a Ecuador, billetes Ecuador, and pasajes Ecuador? It's digital. You don't need to invest a lot of money. You know what they want, you give them what they want, and create mini sites. At the end of the day, they're gonna buy from you either way. So first thing we see there is a market. Now another thing that is very interesting is that a lot of people said, no, why would you go to the Hispanic market in the U.S.? Nobody speaks Spanish in the U.S. So why would you go for the travel? Now this is the reality. People are looking for more and more in Spanish. These statistics are not taking into consideration Mexico or Argentina or Spain. It's all the searches done in the US about pasajes, billetes, boletos. That tells you a lot that yes, people are searching more, and in every industry we've seen, in health, in travel and everything, is the same trend. People are going more and more. And in the previous slides, Joaquin talked about the growth and the potential to grow. Still, there it is. Now, another reason is that you have the data. Now, there is a market. Yes, there is a market. Now, I want to see more. In this case, we're starting a campaign like 2 days ago about a company that was going to sell tours to New York, but in Spanish. A lot of people were telling them, "You're crazy. Why are you going to do it in Spanish in New York?" Well, this is why. This is the searches that have been mostly coming from Spain, Mexico, Argentina, and United States. So there is a market. Yes, there is a market. About what? About tours and travel to New York in Spanish. And this is not being pursued by a lot of companies. And when you look at the numbers, also they are telling you what else they need. They need ofertas, they need hoteles, they need viajes, they need ofertas in Nueva York, viajes in Nueva York. Everything here is all about that product. And these are all the categories, all the content that you need to create in order to entice that market. Now, the interesting fact here is that all these keywords, all these phrases are not being pursued online. So the competition is very low, the pay-per-click is lower, but at the end of the day, the tours are going to be the same. If you do it in English or in Spanish, the cost is going to be the same, but the cost to acquire that customer